to our Friday session of our field day. Some of you have been to other sessions and I hope that you have enjoyed them. I've clicked up the next slide, which actually reminds us of our keynote speaker, which is tomorrow. Deborah Guess, I can't see, yes, that's right, from Pilgrim College. She'll be looking at eco-theology and the church and the environmental crisis. That's from 11 a.m. tomorrow. So to today's session, looking at the season of creation. Just want to say a few things about that. I'm just going to be reading some introductory notes that Brian has created for this particular slide. The season of creation is a time for us to renew our relationship with God as Creator and all the creation through celebration, conversation, and commitment together. During the season of creation, we join our sisters and brothers in the ecumenical family in prayer and action for our common home. One of the things that I do from time to time is to read some science fiction books. And of course, they're all sort of off on other places and so on, but it gets you thinking about planet Earth as almost being like its own spaceship. And it is our common home. It's the one we share. It's the one we don't have to wander around with oxygen tanks, masks and things like that, unless we're extremely sick, of course. But it is our home. It is the place that we share together. Ecumenical Patriarch Demetrios I proclaimed 1st of September as a day of prayer for creation for the Orthodox Church in 1989. In fact, the Orthodox Church year starts on that day with a commemoration of how God created the world. World Council of Churches was instrumental in making the special time a season, extending the celebration from 1st of September to October the 4th. Following the leadership of the Ecumenical Patriarch Demetrius I and the World Council of Churches, Christians worldwide have embraced the season as part of their annual calendar. Pope Francis made the Roman Catholic Church's warm welcoming of the season official in 2015. In recent years, statements from religious leaders around the world have also encouraged the faithful to take time to care for creation during the month-long celebration. The season starts on the 1st of September, the day of creation, and ends on the 4th of October, the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of ecology, beloved by many Christian denominations. Throughout the month-long celebration, the world's 2.2 billion Christians come together to care for our common home. It can be a welcome departure for many of us from the common lectionary that many of us actually use. And for the last quite a few years, those of us who have been using the Seasons of the Spirit material have actually had material to use in this season of creation as that alternative. And that's what we'll be using a bit today. So let's have a look at the 5 Sundays. Sunday 1, the first Sunday is Forest Sunday. All the trees of the forest sing for joy, says Psalm 96, verse 12. Land Sunday is the second one. Let the field exult and everything in it. Outback Sunday. Let the wilderness lift up its voice. I find that a funny photo because I can still see the sea, but never mind.
It might be an inland lake.
Yes. It's got water in it, so no.
Oh, it does happen, Tony.
Yeah, gets it every now and again.
Very rare, but yes, it does happen. So River Sunday is the 4th Sunday. The river of God is full of water. And the final Sunday, as we mentioned earlier, St. Francis Sunday, where it's customary to have a blessing of the animals. So those are the 5 Sundays. Oh, hang on, just a moment. I'm just going to pause that and go back. I was forgetting that was the next thing. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment so we can see everybody. How many of you have used or do use the season of creation in your worship leading?
No,
Not anymore. We word did use it. But
You have used it in the past, right? Okay, so it's a new possibility for some of you that you're wanting to explore.
exactly.
All right, okay. Well, let me share the screen again. I'm going to show you a video clip. I've seen it a couple of times now, and it can be very confronting. Just allow it to speak to you and sit with it for a moment as we do that. So, moving to the next slide now.
Is there supposed to be sound, Tony?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
When you share screen, you have to click the audio button at the bottom because we don't have sound.
Okay, I'm going to stop that sharing and I'll.
Optimize your sound and it'll be there.
Yep, okay.
There's
So just bear with me for a moment while I get. I always forget this bit.
yes.
So we've got to go to share screen, and then it says share sound. Got it?
Yeah.
everything you say, everybody else can hear.
Okay, here it comes now.
Some call me nature. Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
good one. Nice pictures.
Let's have some responses. How do you respond to that? What did it do for you as you were listening to those words.
Overwhelmed.
It's true.
Makes you feel very small.
It's true. It's good. I like it.
I think the danger is that we can just go, okay, well, I won't do anything then. That's what I'm worried about.
Mm. Anything else?
It invites us to think about our part, being part of God's creation. Part we play.
I think when you put that clip into the context of this week for us throughout our field days, where we're really being challenged to act and not just wait, I think that does make a difference. But I think I take Scott's point that it will be easy just to listen to that and say, okay, I won't do anything. But I think we do need to do something. We need to take some responsibility for our actions and think more carefully about what we do and why we do it. And that's really what the season of creation is really about. It gives us that opportunity as the church to reflect on our role in God's plan of salvation in one sense, of reconciliation in the fullest sense. That was part of the thinking that was emerging very strongly from Vicky's lecture last Saturday. How can we sit by and do nothing is part of the question as well. Any further responses you might like to make?
I guess in response to that, Tony, I mean, the clip itself says you can sit by and do nothing. Nature will survive. You won't, and we won't. And that's its Grim Reaper theme. And the choice is there. Which of those outcomes do I want to choose? So will I do anything or not? Or will I simply say, well, my generation, and it'll be the next one or the one after that'll really cop it. And you can live in denial and say it doesn't matter. I'm enjoying what I'm doing now, and I'm going to go on doing that. You can. It's a matter of choice.
There is also the question of what form nature survives in. I mean, if nature survives in the form of a completely dead planet that's lost its atmosphere because of the things we have done that have tipped the balance so that it can't get back to what it has been for so long. Yeah, that's nature surviving, but it's not nature surviving in the way that all those pictures were showing.
It does.
Yeah.
For me, a key scripture has been for a very long time now, that little moment in Genesis 2, where God places the man in the garden and tells him to till it and to keep it, to look after it, to share with God the responsibility. And I'm starting to take that a little more seriously now in the last 2 or 3 years, I think, than I had before. Living as I did for a long time in desert regions, you don't see the same extent, pollution and things like that to the same extent. And so I was a bit cushioned from it. But living closer to cities, I see it a lot more now.
Yeah, that's true.
There's also the question of our grandchildren or our children. What legacy are we leaving? Are we leaving? So let's move back to our, oops, I've got to share screen again and move on to the next slide that we have. So for those of you who have had an opportunity to look through the liturgies that some of us at least received via email yesterday, what are your first impressions of this concept of having this period of season of creation?
Yeah, good question.
I think the idea of the animals blessing, I've sort of had some experience of that before. Obviously, that's one aspect of a number, but I think that's a really good sort of acknowledgement of how it's not just human beings, but also nature, including animals, and obviously plants are all affected, are all part of the ecosystem, and an acknowledgement of how companion animals are very important to many of us and all those sort of things. So it's good to see that that can be set into a wider context of being aware of nature and trying to do our part to improve the situation.
Thanks, Scott. Any other responses at this time?
It's good to actually, the language that evokes all these different aspects of what it is like to be in a forest, or you know, with a waterfall. I've just been looking at the forest one, and I think anything that makes that brings the ideas to be more real to the people in the congregation has to be a good thing. So the language and presumably the visuals that go with it as well, I think would be very helpful.
Thanks, Carol. What about connecting with our community? Does this give us an opportunity to connect, find other ways or new ways of connecting with our wider community?
Almost certainly, almost certainly.
So how would you do it, Ryan?
Well, I think it will, my mind is going a million miles an hour. You know, how would you do it? It's a good question. It seems it needs to start with a group of people who are in the congregation, and there needs to be a movement there. And I could see this being a much better approach than a general ecological theme. Because everybody has their own take on it, and I haven't looked at all of these yet. I only just downloaded them, but the whole concept of going step by step, Sunday by Sunday like that appeals to me as a way of stretching out the understanding of people, and I think that then begins to provide links to the community. We have in the congregation here at Rochester a lady who's whose passion is breeding or providing habitat for squirrel gliders, and she's quite passionate about that. And I think this would enable her to connect her passion into the life of the congregation in a new way.
Thanks, Brian. That's very helpful. Have any others got members of the congregation who are part of WIRES or one of those other groups, community groups around that you might have be able to do the similar sort of thing with?
we have someone in our congregation who's basically been planting trees for the last, well, probably 15 or 20 years, first through work, through an environmental organisation he started, and then on his own. So he's very passionate, obviously, about trying to rehabilitate land and all that sort of thing. So that's really, he'd be a good person to get involved in these worship services and so on.
Could it be that this is an opportunity for some of those folk to tell their story?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a very strong small social justice group, and I can just imagine that these environmental issues they could pick up as a theme that runs through, and probably take it beyond worship to the next step about, you know, inviting community members in for a public forum or something, which is what they do from time to time.
Yeah, thanks, Denise.
I just had an interesting going through when I was joining the program today. I brought up my emails and came across the results of the last month's electricity use from our solar panels, and made me feel quite proud that this last month we've saved 4 trees. It just makes you that my next aim is to make it 5 trees, whatever you can happen to do each month. But it does give you a boost that you are trying to do
4
something.
trees now. She wants
But what really not upsets me, but by the time I come home from doing the weekly shop, walking past other people who are doing their shopping, coming home and unpacking things, it just makes me feel, what can I do to improve the packaging that we
Oh, yes.
we go to put things away and fill up the yellow bin, and it just worries me.
Yes.
A lot of people are just not trying. At least we're trying. And that's what we need, to keep it up there in our heads every time we go shopping, and every time you save a bit of water, or you save some electricity. I just find that these things worry me, but when you see the splendour of what we've seen on that video, it just makes you feel so proud that you're part of it.
Yeah, every little bit helps. Certainly, one of the things that I've learning, we've got a wonderful neighbour just up the road here who's been giving me, answering a lot of my questions. And I was asking about planting of trees as a carbon sink idea. And she said, well, it does work. But you've got to think about it's the tree that's new, that's growing and growing fast. That's the one that's taking up the most carbon. It's not the huge ones.
Right. Oh, yes.
And that's what you also got to think as well. So it's the planting of new growth that actually does begin to make the difference.
But even taking
when you consider how many trees are taken out and how much land is cleared in Australia every day, it's quite scary. So by planting new trees and being part of land care groups or whatever is one of those things. And we can encourage our people to do that and do their part that way as well. But our role here, what this discussion is about, is not just personal stuff, but it's also we are all worship leaders in some way, shape or form. And our focus today really is on leading others into the presence of God and helping them to think and reflect upon their place within this conversation and action as well. So I'm just going to go, just bear with me a moment, just checking where I'm going next. Okay, yes, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen again because we're now going to our next task. Now, we're going to be moving into breakout groups in just a moment or two. Now, we were expecting twice as many people, so this isn't going to quite work the way we thought it would. But we have 5 breakout rooms set up, one for each of those.
And actually, he's made it smaller.
Sorry?
Sorry, Kevin is
Oh.
not on mute. Don't worry.
So we've got 5 breakout rooms, one for each of the seasons or weeks. So there's one on forests, land, outback, rivers, and animals. You may have a preference to join one of those, and that's the way we've set it up. The problem with that is that we could end up with people not being in any group at all, or all end up in one group. I'm wondering if it's worth trying to see what happens, because it means you might only be with a pair at best. But what we might do is put you into those rooms, get you to have a look at the liturgy that you've now got, and have a think through it. But these are the questions we're going to be asking you to look at. So explore one of the Sundays, looking at readings, prayers, and the structure. How does this connect with what you know of eco-theology, looking at revelation, redemption, and grace? And then looking at those questions there, how could it work in your context? How might you make one of those services work? What would you use? What would you change? What resources would you need? And who might be in the congregation to help you? We've already started opening some of those up. Now, what I suggest you do, because you won't actually have those questions, the idea was to send them to you in an email. Now, that didn't happen. So those of you just happen to have your mobile phone handy, what you might do is just take a photo of this current screen, and then you have the questions in front of you. So long as somebody in your little group has those, then you've got some direction.
We could paste them into the chat now that I don't know how I get my photo there, but we could.
Yeah, does the chat transfer into the breakout rooms? I'm not sure that it does.
No, you're probably right.
Which, I had actually thought of that, but anyway, that's why I suggested the photo. Anyway, what I'm going to suggest we do is we attempt to do this. I'll stop sharing that. I'm about to stop sharing the screen, so if you haven't got a photo of it, you may want to grab it now.
Don't know how to do it, that's the problem.
Yes, I'm struggling with this. I haven't done this for a while. I just use my camera. Oh, I'm taking a photo of me by the looks of things. How do I do
You need to turn it around.
How can I do that? You should be able to do it the other way around.
Yeah, it should flip. It should flip for you, but
now, how do I get to it? Oh yeah, I've got the right. Wait. We are now in the main session. Right. No, we're not. Oh, yes, we are.
yes, we're all coming back.
Where's Jill? I've lost Jill still.
Yeah, we have lost Jill. Where did she go? Hang on. It's the view, isn't it? Gallery view. There we go.
Clicked on something else.
Yeah.
There she goes. Jill's back there.
I made it.
It did.
We thought we'd lost.
Sorry, I was talking to myself all the way, which was no doubt coming through to you, wasn't it?
No.
I talk to my computer all the time, and it doesn't always like the language I use either.
Oh, no, none of us want to be heard.
All right, I think that's all of us back now. I hope that you've enjoyed that experience with your groupies. So how did you go? What are some of the things that you would like to share from your group?
I think our response, Tony, and all was a fairly positive one to the use of the material, but we acknowledged that it could be a fairly overwhelming approach to do it.
Yeah, 5 Sundays.
5 Sundays.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
5 Sundays in a row. That could be over. We tossed that around and said that indeed we probably would choose some other arrangements for it, but that would depend upon the congregations. So, and it has a huge number of implications which go well beyond our immediate control. For some of them historical, and just what you do with all of that is pretty complex.
We were certainly feeling. Sorry, Tony. We were feeling that. Maybe I'm not.
Try again, Denise.
Thank you. We were thinking that on small congregations it would be quite a pressure, and wondered whether you could spread them out over months if you wanted to, or have a couple of weeks break in between, just to when small groups are leading them. My other thought, we could get small groups that actually prepare the worship, so you have 4 different groups of people that prepare the worship across the month. Yeah, and they'd each bring a different emphasis, different focus, and different flavours to it. Could be an enriching way to do it.
Perhaps another way would be just to focus on those 1 or 2 that actually connect directly to your congregation's location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody talk about connecting with the First Peoples at all through this?
No.
You did.
Yes.
We did. We did.
Should have, but we didn't.
We said we had perhaps tried a few times, but didn't always work. And Tony's suggestion that instead of us saying, will you come and join us, we ask them, would they come and tell their story to us, and make it a different type of approach. And they might be, some of them might be able to do that for us, unless they said, well, if you want to, you come to us, well, you're invited. So therefore you feel you could do that. But we would like to, especially when we're surrounded by so much of their history. We would like to know more about the trees and the places that they call their home. That was it.
Thanks, Helen. Anybody else?
I just think that as climate change is such a topic at the present moment, when everybody's looking at where we're going and what we're doing to the world, is a really good time to run something like this, because it's in people's minds how we're caring for things, and to bring in the idea that this is really God's creation that we're living in. And that's important. It gives us the responsibility of caring for it in a way just because it's ours, instead of just because it was ours. It's that we're sharing God's community, God's creation, and how we use it and use it well. And we haven't been doing that very well. So I think it would be something that we could introduce into a congregation now, because it is very topical at the moment.
Thanks, Kevin.
I was just telling the others that the service I've been preparing this week, just having this week has made a difference to how I've prepared that service.
Good.
Wonderful.
And I have
Yes.
brought in a lot more things that I may have brought in bits of it, but I've probably been more intentional about bringing in things about
Such
food.
as? Oh, okay.
I support that too, Tony.
Yeah.
This week has changed a lot of my thinking about the Bible and how we read it and think about
But
it.
someone just asked, such as. Who asked that?
Denise did. Yeah, I think I've just brought in the call to worship, I've brought in more things about praising God for the sun each morning, the moon and the stars at night. I've brought in several different things through the service about how we're all part of that whole creation, that it's not just about us. And I've even brought in a bit about cats purring or something, and you know I hate cats. So.
I presume you don't say that when you talk about cats purring in the service.
Sandra,
As
you
long
can
as they
sit
don't
down on
touch me.
Sunday with Francis of Assisi and blessing the animals. All right?
We noticed in our service that there were quite a lot of multi-sensory things, and that's good, I think,
Right.
that connects with people at more different age levels and different situations, I guess. That sort of the idea of having leaves that you can smell, having a soil that you can actually take a handful of and just see how it feels, or things like that can be, it's a different thing. It affects us in a different way to just hearing words, I think.
I once brought a small a bag of desert sand from Central Australia to a meeting of the Assembly Standing Committee, and when we were leading worship there. And I put some on each of the tables and invited people to put their hands in it. Now, most of those people have never been anywhere close to Central Australia. So for them, it was their first contact. And I don't know what it did to some people, but I know that some people found that really helpful, to actually have the sand in your fingernails.
As long as you only had it in your fingernails, not in your teeth.
Oh, it's pretty heavy. It drops to the bottom.
I'm just looking at a service I've prepared for the end of May, and I've got on it, if I can find it, talking about our senses, scented candles, leaves, flowers, stones, etc. on the pews. I just intend to spread them all out on the pews so that people can pick up the leaves and the flowers and the stones and something. And I'd done that before this week. So,
What Sunday are you doing that, Sandra?
the 30th of May. Yeah, the 30th
All
of
right,
this
I'm
month.
conducting a hymn service then.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, I'd tootle up the road to see.
You come up the road to see what happened. You know I do strange things.
Just be aware you might give people a sensory overload if you get too many smells and whistles happening.
Oh yeah, you've got to be careful about it.
Yeah.
Yes, that was another observation that I felt when we went through that there's lots of stuff. But if I was doing it, I think I'd probably need to prune it a bit, because I don't think I can get the service that long into the sort of time span I would normally use.
Yeah, the service that we looked at had Holy Communion on it as well.
They all
and
did.
Had a gathering at the beginning and a procession.
It was a fairly long service. I'd say it'd go an hour and a quarter if I was just reading it.
Well, at least.
No sermon.
All right, at least.
Yeah, I think it's like anything. You need to be prepared to take what you want from any resource and change it, modify it.
Yeah.
But even just a germ of an idea sometimes can be a spark, all the spark you need for your own. I came across this series a number of years ago by Scripture Union. There's about 5 or 6 in the series. This one's called multi-sensory prayer. So there's lots of ideas as to how you might use the senses in some of the prayers. So that's another resource that you may want to keep an eye open for. And I think some of it may even be available as PDFs now. I'm not sure.
I haven't seen it as PDFs, but it's worth a look.
No, mine certainly aren't. But yeah, I saw them online some years ago and bought a whole heap of them. Okay. Anybody else got anything else that you want to share from your conversations?
Only to toss in that in the group that we were in, there was a general feeling that outdoor locations and they presented a difficulty for people with limited mobility. And we needed to be aware of those things. You could get enthusiastic about doing something like this and disenfranchise people, which really would be sad.
Right.
One of the things, the people who did forest and rivers, if they did them, they all connect. We did the land, Carol and Kevin and I and Sandra.
No, Jill.
Jill, I'm sorry, Jill. Sorry, Sandra. Jill's nearly off my screen here. They are interconnected. No, you're not. They are interconnected.
Yeah,
Yes, they are.
that's true.
Much so.
Yeah.
When I was speaking to Dorothy, we were thinking about, we did Outback and got stuck there, as you do in the wilderness. They stayed longer than we should have.
Yes.
But we were just dreaming, if outdoor wasn't possible, then the use of an open space like a hall, if that's possible, to just be more creative, allowing more creativity in the space. So,
Sure. Yes, Denise, that's true.
I've sometimes used or seen people use, I haven't used it much myself, but using different fabrics to create rivers, or and you can put stones on them, or you can. There's lots of ways you can bring the outside in.
Yeah, certainly with PowerPoint today, you've got all that option.
Yes.
As well.
Well, I'm wondering if we might wind up this part of our conversation, and we have another brief clip. It's a music clip that I want to share with you. And so I'm going to share my screen again and introduce that to you. So just bear with me while I do that. Hello, it's gone.
Well, at least it was brief, Tony.
Well, it certainly was that.
You've gone into the forest, or?
Disappeared in the iCloud.
It's all right. I think I'll be back, and I think I know what's happened to it. No, it's still not there.
The other one, it's still there. See it?
Can't find what it is.
Yeah, it's just
gone off my screen.
All right.
I don't know where it's gone. Just bear with me for a moment. There must be something else that's in the way. Try that.
Us.
It's just completely, yeah. I want to get back to the PowerPoint. I can see it. Nobody else can. That's really annoying.
If we go out of the, if we go out of that view there, Kevin,
What do you want to do?
we'll go into a different view. This is all of us.
Yeah. No, Tony will bring it.
Yeah, all right.
Well, I'm trying to get you to see what I can see, and I can't find it for some reason, really.
Share screen. Did you do that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
and
trying to
got
share the
something.
screen, but I cannot find the screen on the share screen that I want to show.
Yeah. Oh,
That can be tricky.
You normally have to. Oh, okay.
No, Helen, no, we don't want.
We've got a tree here now.
At the house.
It's all right.
Stop it. It's all right.
It's my share screen that I'm trying to get to. Yeah, finally, it's there. So we'll be there in just a moment. Here we go. And hopefully, you'll hear the music as well when it comes up. Can you hear the music?
No.
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 No. Okay,
Did you
that's
share
fine.
it?
You missed that button again.
Oh, I didn't realise I had to do it every time.
Yes, you do, sadly.
Yeah, it's a real pest. That's all right, but just share sound.
Yes, we'll have sound.
We're making a garden. We're working the ground in land that's bombed and torn. Your love soaks through the soil. New life can yet be born. Oh, welcome to the building. All invited to the fruit. On earth God's planned a garden. Every hand that's gripped a sword can make a plowshare too. Come join the work. God's bringing life. God's bringing life. Lands in the same dirt. Enemies are one body now. Come sing new words. God's bringing life. God's bringing life. Lay down your swords. The wars you've learned are over now. God's turned our weapons into plows. Our hands won't be idle. Our hearts won't grow cold. On the barren ground before us, we can see a garden. We can see a home. The drought is around us. The fires will come. We've tasted the harvest. Our God has drawn us close.
that came from Leichhardt Uniting Church in Sydney.
Beautiful
Invite us to,
voices.
I'm going to invite us to share an affirmation of faith. It might be best if we actually all mute ourselves. I might leave mine unmuted, but if you'd like to mute so that we can share together in our homes this affirmation of faith. Let's affirm our faith together. We believe that God creates all things, renews all things, and celebrates all things. We believe Earth is a sanctuary, a sacred planet, filled with God's presence, a home for us to share with our kin. We believe that God became flesh and blood, became a piece of earth, a human being called Jesus Christ, who lived and breathed and spoke among us, suffered and died on a cross for all human beings and for all creation. We believe that the risen Jesus is the Christ at the core of creation, reconciling all things to God, renewing all creation and filling the cosmos. We believe that the Holy Spirit renews life in creation, groans in empathy with a suffering creation, and waits with us for the rebirth of creation. Together, we believe that with Christ, we will rise, and with Christ, we will celebrate a new creation. I'd like to thank you all for sharing in this afternoon's session. I hope that you've had the chance to learn something and to share something. I hope that you're able to take something back to your place as we celebrate together a season of creation, no matter whether we celebrate it throughout September or some other time. I pray God's blessing on you all as you seek to lead your folk into the presence of God where you are. May God be with you all. I'll say farewell.
Amen.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you.
Until we meet again. Bye.
Yes.
Everybody. See you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.